A Chinese military researcher has been arrested by the FBI after hiding in the San Francisco Chinese consulate. Welcome back to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. And let me tell you, I'm not the only one trying to uncover America. The Chinese Communist Party is as well. Look, all countries spy on each other. How do you think America got French fries? Thomas Jefferson stole the recipe when he was the first U.S. ambassador to France, which was his greatest contribution to America, other than writing the Declaration of Independence and being the third president and stuff. That's not a joke. Okay, Jefferson didn't really steal the recipe, and credit should go to James Hemings, Jefferson's slave who he brought to Paris to learn French cooking, and then later freed. But this isn't American history uncovered. Anyway, the point is, all countries spy on each other. But Chinese espionage is on a whole nother level. According to a senior U.S. intelligence official, there's been about a 1,300% increase in cases related to economic espionage in China over the last 10 years. Earlier this month, FBI Director Christopher Wray said they open a new China case every 10 hours, including this one. Earlier this week, the FBI arrested a Chinese military researcher who had been hiding out in the San Francisco consulate.
The diplomatic crisis sparked by the closing of China's consulate in Houston, Texas, has now pivoted to another state, California, where the FBI says the San Francisco consulate there is harboring a researcher affiliated with the Chinese military. The FBI says it believes that a woman, Juan Tang, had served in the Chinese military but claimed she didn't on her visa application, which they say is fraud. There are espionage concerns. Juan worked at the University of California. The news comes just a day after the U.S. ordered China's Houston consulate to close, quote, to protect American intellectual property and private information without giving specifics.
FYI, most people call her Tang Juan, last name first, like they do it in Chinese. Tang fled to the San Francisco consulate after being interviewed by the FBI back in June about her alleged visa fraud. Now, in her interview with the FBI, she denied serving in the Chinese military. And she said she didn't even know what the insignia on her uniform meant. And I believe her. The FBI must have gone the wrong person. Time to set her free. Wait, what's that, Shelley? In a search of her home and electronic media, FBI investigators discovered photographs of her in the uniform of the civilian cadre of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, and that she had been employed as a researcher at the 4th Military Medical University. Wow. And to think Tang Juan had me completely fooled. She must be a really good spy, because I'm not easily tricked. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting a phone call. What's that? A Nigerian prince, you say? Oh, that sounds important. I'll call you back in 5. Anyway, Tang Juan was a biology researcher at the University of California, Davis. According to the criminal complaint, Tang had said in her visa application that she had never served in the military and was not a member of the Communist Party. But the FBI began to wonder if that was true after they did a quick internet search and found a website with a photo of Tang in a PLA uniform, which also said that she worked as a researcher at a military university. Glad to know that the FBI has mastered the first rule of counterintelligence, Google stalking, which is also the first rule of online dating. Wait a minute. Anyway, the FBI's Google stalking also found several other websites that linked Tang to China's Air Force Military Medical University, also known as the 4th Military Medical University. Another giant clue? She listed her email on her visa application with an @fmmu.edu.cn address, which is the website of the Air Force Military Medical University. Pro tip, before you come to the U.S. to work while hiding your ties to the Chinese military, it might be a good idea to get a Hotmail address. Anyway, after the FBI got a search warrant for Tong's home, they found another photo of her in a PLA uniform, as well as evidence that she is in fact a member of the Chinese Communist Party, which she had lied about in her visa application. Okay, I'm getting the sense that Tong was not the most careful possible spy. Although Tong was not arrested for spying, but for visa fraud. Her arrest comes after an announcement in May from the US government saying it's going to expel Chinese grad students with ties to Chinese military universities because of the potential national security concerns. The FBI had actually accused Tong and 3 other Chinese scientists of visa fraud, lying about their connections to the Chinese military. The other 3 had already been arrested. In fact, one of them had been arrested while trying to leave the country and was also accused of stealing medical research from the University of California, San Francisco. He told Customs and Border Patrol that he had been told by his military university lab to bring back information on how to replicate the layout of the UCSF lab. But unlike the others, Tong had avoided arrest by sheltering at the San Francisco Consulate. I wonder why she got so lucky. Well, until she stopped being lucky. She now faces up to 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. The Justice Department says the FBI has recently conducted additional interviews of visa holders suspected of having undeclared affiliation with the Chinese military in more than 25 American cities. So this is not an isolated issue. But for a bit of context, this is happening as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo recently laid out a new U.S. approach to China.
President Reagan said that he drew out with the Soviet Union on the basis of trust but verify. When it comes to the CCP, I say we must distrust and verify.
Wow, distrust and verify. You're right, Mike Pompeo. It's good to always be on your guard. Oh wait, excuse me, I'm getting a text. Oh no. Oh, Shelley's traveling in Uzbekistan and her car broke down. Wiring money now. Funny. I just spoke to Shelley. She didn't mention being in Uzbekistan. Must have slipped her mind. Anyways, this Tong Juan incident comes as the US just shut down the Chinese consulate in Houston over allegations of spying. But the Chinese consulate in San Francisco was the one harboring her, so why not close the San Francisco consulate as well? Well, a few reasons. According to a Justice Department official, the sum total of the Houston consulate's activities went well over the line of what we are willing to accept. I wonder what kind of spying they consider not crossing the line, other than stealing French fries. And spying isn't the only concern with Chinese consulates. According to Axios, the Chinese government has long used its embassy and consulates in the US to exert control over student groups, collect information on Uyghurs and Chinese dissident groups, and coordinate local and state-level political influence activities. But, according to an unnamed former US intelligence official, San Francisco is the real gem, but the US won't close it. That's because closing the San Francisco consulate would be a huge escalation. It's way bigger and more important than the consulate in Houston. San Francisco has the oldest Chinatown in North America and one of the largest populations of Chinese people outside Asia. And the Chinese Communist Party is also playing a similar game of shutting down consulates.
China's foreign ministry announced as of 10 a.m. Monday morning the US consulate in the Chinese city of Chengdu has closed. China had given the closure orders on Friday, with just 72 hours to vacate.
But China closing the US consulate in Chengdu is also not as big a deal compared to if they were going to close the US consulate in Shanghai, where a lot more Americans live. So this is China playing tit for tat. Actually, a senior State Department official told CNN the idea to close the Houston consulate emerged this spring after China interfered when US officials returned to the consulate in Wuhan, closed due to the coronavirus pandemic, to retrieve diplomatic materials. See? You can find inspiration anywhere. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a Nigerian prince to get back to. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.